This is a Flying Cow production.
Book 1, Water. Book 2, Earth. Book 3, Fire. Long ago, Nickelodeon introduced a series called Avatar: The Last Airbender. It combined great anime-style animation, strong storytelling, heart, and humor. It was great, and everyone that saw it loved it. Until one day, a terrible movie came out which everyone hated. But my co-host Loren Collins knows none of this because he's never seen the show. And that's why we are watching every episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender, because I believe this could be Loren's new favorite show. Or at least top 20.
Well, hello, and welcome back to Comets and Cabbages, the Avatar: The Last Airbender review podcast here on the Flying Cow Network. I, of course, am the Flying Cow himself, Clay Johnson, and I belong in the spirit world.
Hey everybody, I'm Amanda Van Heil, and I passed my waterbending test.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'm Loren Collins, and I don't see dead people.
It's good. That's good status report from you,
Yeah.
Loren. All right. Yes, we are here talking about the next episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Of course, we are, going through this entire series, all in the quest to see if this can be Loren's new favorite show. I will say, though, I wanted to, before we got started, talk about something that I was thinking about the last episode, and I'm like, I can't believe we didn't bring this up. In the last episode, I think I mentioned that my favorite scene was that scene where, Katara and Sokka do that, like, fake acting scene, and they both do, like really over the top, like, bad acting.
Oh, yeah.
I'll show you who's boss kind of thing,
Earthbending style.
Yeah, yes. The the official theme now of earthbending. But something that I didn't even think to mention is the fact that I think that scene, unfortunately, really does Sokka dirty. Because of all of the characters in Avatar: The Last Airbender, can you think anyone who would embrace improv culture more than Sokka? Sokka's got his own improv group.
Mm-hmm.
You know that
he's the master of yes-anding.
Yes,
absolutely. Well, I mean, at the very least, he thinks he's really funny. So, that he's got his own, his own improv group. They're probably called Sock It To Me or something like that. Something ridiculous like that. And so I'm just thinking, like, okay, so obviously you've got Sokka. I'm thinking that, Uncle Iroh would be a good addition to the group. He's got a good sense of humor and he's laid back and chill.
Yeah.
I think, Katara would probably constantly audition and constantly fail. She'd think it's because her brother, it's her brother, but it's really just because she's not funny. And then, of course, Doug Jonas is going to be a part of it because, he's doing that laid back, chill thing as well. Living his best life, Doug Jonas.
If we've seen anybody in this show who's going to be part of an improv group, it's going to be the king of Omashu.
Boomy. Okay. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? We've got. Right now we've got all dudes. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of girls yet. But Amanda, can you think of any other potential people that can
there's probably a girl within the Kyoshi Warriors who's pretty cool that we just haven't met because she's the funny one, so she doesn't get put on the front lines.
Yeah. I will say, and I know this is kind of, giving away some stuff that's coming up, but I think that Ty Lee would love to be part.
Ty
of
Lee would
an
be
improv group.
amazing. Ty Lee,
Yeah.
and then once we see Toph, she's gonna join.
True. Yeah, I mean, obviously, right now we're just mentioning a bunch of characters that Loren's like, okay.
I'm just sitting here thinking about how I think Sokka's issue with the acting scene, like you're pointing out, he may be good at improv, but that, as you may know from people who know or love improv, not necessarily great with scripts. And that technically had a script.
That's true. That actually is, of course, that's his problem though, was when Katara went off script.
Yeah.
So, I'm just like,
He
I feel like if anybody could have flown with
that effort. And it was just thrown when all of a sudden it's like, nope, I did what you told me to do.
Yeah. He's like, I didn't know we were improving. I got to go get my props.
We should have done that from the beginning. Yes. Exactly.
All right. Well, what do you say we go ahead and get into today's episode? We are going to be talking, and I will say, I'm just going to mention this right off the top. I think I said at one point that all of our 2-part episodes were going to be one episode. And we have come up upon Winter Solstice, part 1 and part 2. However, as we were looking at these episodes, I asked Loren and Amanda, and they agreed with me. This really feels like 2 separate stories that are only like vaguely connected. I mean, like one leads into the other, but they still feel like 2 separate stories to me. So the way that we're going to handle this is these are going to be 2 separate episodes, but they're probably going to be dropped pretty close to each other. You're not going to have to wait a week, maybe a day, maybe an hour. Maybe you won't have to wait at all. Who knows? I haven't really actually decided on how I'm going to handle it. But, or, maybe you're, watching this like 5 years in the future and it's like, well, they're all right here. Yeah. So, like I said, we're going to go ahead and we are going to separate these by podcast episode or whatever you want to call this thing that we're airing mostly on YouTube. But, they're still going to drop relatively soon because they are connected, But yeah, so today we are reviewing Winter Solstice Part 1, The Spirit World. I will say, I think the subtitles to these really could have stood on their own as episode titles, because as we say, they're loosely connected, but we'll talk kind of about the connection in the next episode. The stories really feel separate. They just kind of lead into each other. But yeah, so this was directed by Loren McMullen, written by Aaron Ehasz. I think that's right. Yeah, I think I got that in the right order. And it was first aired April 8th, 2005. Basically the idea of this episode is that Aang goes to a town and they know more about his job than he does, and basically tell him it's your job to fix the spirit problems. So he does. That's pretty much the episode in a nutshell. Yeah. Yeah, so let's go ahead and let's just jump right into the episode. Once again, I will say this show does really good for like their opening shots. They're always very nice, very calming. I think at a certain point, that might change. But right now they're first thing I wrote down was the opening was very serene, and Aang goes jumping through the clouds because Katara is curious as to, well, not curious. I think she's more just like, oh, looks like you could just jump on those clouds like white, pillowy things. And, I'm sure we've all had those thoughts before, but Aang can actually test it because Aang can fly with his glider.
He can do real skydiving.
Right. I will say, though, it's like, okay, Aang, yeah, you can do that. You know who also could have done that? And so you all could have experienced it? Appa. Just saying. Aang being a little selfish here.
Also, how has he never done that before? Like,
yeah, I was about to say,
Airbender.
Aang, you've flown through clouds before. Come on. Yeah.
Yeah, he already had Appa, like, before he was frozen. He already lived, like, in a castle in the sky, basically.
Yeah, it's true. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure you've gone through clouds because, obviously he goes through it and he's like, turns out clouds are made of water. And I'm like, duh.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You are correct.
I was about to say, I feel like if any of the peoples of this world would know that, it would be the airbenders.
Like there had to have been times where, like, in the air nomad kingdom world, the air temple, that like they would open their door and like just that day there was just a big cloud just right outside their door.
They'd probably like walk into clouds.
And it's like, oh man, it sure is cloudy out today.
Yeah. I was about to say there's no such thing as fog in the airbending temples. It's just cloudy. But yeah, so as they are flying, they do see a large they're flying over the forest and they see a large gash, basically looks like a scar on the forest land, basically where fire benders have gone through. And I mean, I think my initial thought was that they just like cut down the forest, but no, it looks like they just burned it down. For what purpose, we don't know. Maybe they just wanted to start a really big bonfire. I don't know. Maybe they were just being hateful that day. Who knows? Maybe they were searching for something.
Maybe they had a bag of marshmallows they needed to use up.
Yeah. Who knows? But yes, they just burned this large bit of forest, and of course, Aang is upset about it, because, once again, we're reminded that, Aang is the Avatar. This kind of was Aang's responsibility, and he feels responsible for that. And like, I get it on one point, and, he is responsible and should feel that responsibility, but at the same time, he doesn't need to be weighed down by it. And then Katara decides to cheer him up in the only way that Katara could, in a way that only Katara could think was a good way to cheer someone up, by throwing an acorn at his head.
Because nothing makes me smile more than getting hit by an acorn.
Right. I was about to say, you know what? Very few things make me smile more than blunt force trauma. The possibility of a concussion just makes my day brighter.
I had a pine cone fall down and hit me on the head on my way out from Whitewater one time, and I thought it was one of my friends throwing it at me, and I turned around and yelled a few expletives. And they're like, it came from the tree, I promise.
Yeah. I mean, I will say there are certain forms of head trauma that can cause a permanent compression on the pleasure center. So maybe that's what Katara was aiming to do here. But she explains that no, it's showing you there is hope. There's already acorns, they can grow. And I will say, they have shown that when things are like burned down and they grow back, they can actually grow back more lush than they were before, because that kind of acts like a natural fertilizer to these forest areas. But obviously the devastation is real and completely understandable. But I will say, Sokka laughs at Katara throwing an acorn Aang's head, and she throws one at Sokka just for good measure. It's like, oh, you thought that was funny? Here, joy and sharing the joy.
She didn't want him to feel left out.
No, Katara just really Kataraing things up here. But yeah, as they are doing this, eventually they come upon a village with that is like I said, populated by people who know the Avatar better than Aang does. We are introduced to a guy that I called Exposition Man. Because pretty much everything that he said was like, "Oh, you're the Avatar. You're the bridge between a man and spirit." It's like, "Oh, thank you for all of this information we didn't have before, Exposition Man." But yeah, and I will say, I meant to pull it up. That guy has like a very like recognizable, notable voice. Does anybody have IMDb open?
I can. Let's see.
Yeah, of course. I think I've got all of my stuff, and then
I'm actually going to behind the voice actors.
Yeah,
and IMDb.
But he's got this. I mean,
what's his name?
See, I can't remember.
All right.
Let's see if I wrote it down somewhere. Like I said, I just called him Exposition Man.
There's a leader, like all these characters. There's Old Wanderer and Leader and Captain.
Okay, maybe Old Wanderer.
Let's see.
James Shigeta.
I mean, he's got like a very like old, like wise voice, Yeah, I mean, this is great podcast, guys.
Yeah,
well, if so, he was in Die Hard. If it is indeed the Old Wanderer.
Okay, I mean, like I said, it's just a great sounding voice, and there's another villager there that sometimes takes the exposition that also has a really nice voice, and I'm just like, man, this is like a village full of like narrators.
Yeah, if it is James Shigeta, like his IMDb profile literally begins with Hawaiian-born James Shigeta was for a time
Hawaiian-born, yeah, sounds
Asian
sounds
U.S. star the country had known for decades.
All right, there you go. But yeah, so really filling us and Aang in on what his job here is. Basically they let Aang know that there is a spirit that has kind of been terrorizing their village for I think they said like the past 3 nights or something like that. And every night that they come, they steal a steal a villager. So someone gets taken. And do they know the name of the spirit at this point?
I don't remember if they called him by name at that point or not.
I don't know if there's a name. I wrote down Hey Bye Spirit.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember if they knew the name of the spirit or if we found that out. But I mean, I will say I've got it pretty early on in my notes, so I think that they did know the name of it. Which makes me wonder with the reveal later if they didn't just know that he was the forest spirit and they didn't tell Aang. That would have been very helpful because apparently, Aang getting that knowledge is what helps him fix the whole situation in the first place. But I'm just like, his name and you're not gonna tell them, oh yeah, he's the forest spirit. I don't know why he's mad.
Maybe that'll tell you why he's mad.
Yeah.
They just assumed Aang knew that information. They didn't think it was important.
No, apparently not.
Everybody knew his name. We didn't think we needed to tell you.
No. But yeah, so there is a spirit that is terrorizing the village. And I will say, I don't know about you guys, it's a very like animation style, but I really like the design of the initial Hey Bye that we get, very monstrous looking, black and white. You know, and like I said, it's a very anime
It is very
looking creature, but I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's reminds me, honestly, it reminds me of like Miyazaki designs.
Yes.
Yeah.
In a lot
Very
of ways.
spirited away.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
With its function,
so,
it's also like a Middle Ages kaiju, kind of, but just this giant
yeah.
wandering around smashing up a small town.
Basically.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, obviously it's a small village, so it doesn't need to be huge. I think if it was a city, it would be a little dwarfed, but of course, also I think it probably could grow if it needed or wanted to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just, you know, a really cool, striking image for this episode. And let's see, I'm trying to see if I can pull this up real quick. Because yeah, here we go. Yeah. So like I said, yeah, it makes me think of, you know, Spirited Away or those kind of things. Great design. But yeah, so you know, basically they inform Aang that it's his job to kind of make peace between the Heibai spirit and the town. And so Aang is like, I have no idea how to do that, but I'm gonna try. So you know, he, you know, is there when the spirit shows up, and you know, I will say at first the spirit doesn't show up exactly when Aang thinks. So Aang's just like, oh, I guess I won. Cool. A very childlike thing to do. It's like, oh, okay, I win. Bye. But you know, obviously Heibai shows up and it's like, yeah, no, not gonna be that easy. And you know, starts to destroy the town, and Aang just does not know what to do. He just, you know, he doesn't. He was never trained in this stuff, and he's very honest initially with Sokka and Katara about the fact that, you know, he knows he's supposed to be the bridge, but he was never taught any of this stuff. But I mean, you know, here's the thing. It's not like the Avatar gets to grow up alongside the former Avatar. The new Avatar isn't christened until the old one dies.
Yeah.
So regardless of when, you know, of the 100 years or whatever, even if that hadn't happened, Aang still would have had to find a way to connect to Roku spiritually, because he's not going to be able to physically. So I think he would have had this problem regardless. I will say though, before we skate over it completely, there is a bit of a scene when Aang is kind of talking to Sokka and Katara about how he's just like not sure about this, that really kind of sums up the faith that both Katara and Sokka have in him.
I think you can do it, Aang.
Yeah. We're all gonna get eaten by a spirit monster.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts of that episode.
Katara fully on board, fully, you know, full of hope and belief. And
Of course
Sokka,
he is.
yeah, we're all gonna die.
Yeah.
We're gonna smile about it. Good for you, Aang. All right. But yeah, so you know, Aang, like I said, doesn't know what to do, and he's kind of getting, you know, the shit kicked out of him. And you know, Sokka, as much as, you know, he didn't believe that Aang could do it in the first place, is still doesn't want to just watch his friend get hurt, so he wants to go out and help. And you know, the village elders, because they know everything, but they're only going to tell you certain things, they're telling Sokka, no, you can't go out there, this is just the Avatar. But Sokka goes out there, and wouldn't you know it, the moment Sokka shows up, he gets Sokka napped. So he gets taken away. And hey, by the moment he gets somebody to take, he's ready to go now. He just wanted a new dolly. He came to town to buy a new dolly. He's got his dolly. Now he's going home.
This one comes with a boomerang action.
Yeah. All right. Throw it away. It comes back to me. Yes. But yeah, so Sokka gets Sokka napped, and Aang goes after him, and it looks like the spirit disappeared with Sokka, and Aang starts to go back dejected. But I will say, I think that we, the audience, noticed something that Aang does not, and it's the fact that he's blue.
Yes.
When he starts to walk back to the town, because when he gets back to the town, he hears basically Katara and the Elder basically saying, I'm sure they'll be back. I'm sure the Avatar won't come back without your brother, that kind of thing. And Aang's standing right there, and he's like, I'm so sorry. And they cannot hear him. And Aang starts, freaking out. He's like, hey, listen to me. I'm right. And eventually he realizes that he is in the spirit world. And he does not really, I will say though, he's not really in the spirit world. He's on the spirit plane. Because later on we see the spirit world, and it is inhabited by, we see other spirits.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, he's in the natural world, but on the spirit plane.
He's on the
around
bridge.
Exactly. I'm sorry, what was that,
He's
Loren?
upside down.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah, kind of.
I mean, I guess kind of ish. I mean, I would compare the spirit world more to the upside down, because it's similar to. But anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway. But
he is obviously sharing places with this, and he's walking around blue tinted like he's one of Charles Dickens's Christmas ghosts.
Yeah, very good. Yes, very good. Yes. And he's frustrated, and he's randomly decides to ask Roku for help. And the moment that happens, a spirit dragon starts coming towards him. And I don't know about you guys, but I really enjoyed the look of this spirit dragon, especially this first one, when it's like coming towards him. It's just like this really cool image of this dragon coming towards Aang. And of course, Aang is initially freaked out. He tries to airbend, realizes
I'm about to get eaten.
Well, he realizes that he cannot bend in the spirit world, which is an important thing to know. That he cannot bend when he is in spirit form on the spirit plane.
So like he had a very, very long, because he flew out to confront the forest thing, right? To get,
Well, he flew out. He flew out chasing, but he walked.
But he walked back. It's like apparently he decided to like just trudge his way all the way back and didn't experiment.
So disappointed at the and he also probably
it's a plot hole. I just found it.
I don't know what I'm gonna tell Katara. I don't want to rush back.
Yeah.
So he just decides to walk. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that. He's in no hurry to get back. Doesn't feel like because I think bending is an exciting thing for him, and he does not feel excited right now.
No, he's got to go back to deliver the news. It's like, how Sokka said he was going to get eaten by a spirit monster? Well,
he did. Yeah.
Maybe if I wait long enough, Katara will forget what happened.
Yeah.
Sokka, what's Sokka? It's always
Sokka? What? I don't think I know a Sokka.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so he goes back, and or no, sorry. I got messed up. But yes, the spirit dragon comes and immediately teaches Aang how to commune with spirits by touching him on the forehead
With his
with
little
his little
whisker.
his little tendril thing, and you know, basically gets a vision from Roku that they need to meet, and that the solstice is coming up, and they need to talk, and Aang's going to have to come to Roku so that they can have this discussion. Thus, setting up part 2, which we'll talk about late in next episode. But that is, the idea here, and so
For Roku's big plan,
yes.
having his spirit dragon confront Aang in the spirit world, and then draw him to him. It sure was convenient in the end that Aang got knocked into the spirit realm, because otherwise I don't know what Roku's backup plan for that was.
Well, and apparently this happened like a day before the solstice. I'm just like, I think you're cutting this a little close there, Roku.
Yeah.
This plan, maybe could have happened a little bit sooner.
You've had 100 years to plan this, and you literally waited till like the last day.
Yeah. Before actually, enacting it.
Yes, you should have had a plan that did not depend on Aang getting knocked into the spirit realm. That was just a bad arrangement.
But yeah, so excuse me. So Aang now has the plan. He needs to go see Roku, but we've still got to wrap up this episode. So when this dragon takes him back, that's when Aang rejoins his body, and he goes back to the town, and at this point, it's been a whole day, so this was a very, very long conversation apparently. It's because they're back to night. I will say at this point, it strikes me, I guess Aang's body was getting rest while he was in the spirit world, because otherwise he hasn't slept. So I'm guessing that being on the spirit plane must be relaxing, because otherwise he'd be exhausted. Because they're back at twilight, and he reveals to Katara that he still doesn't know what to do. Although when the spirit shows up, he pretty quickly touches it on the forehead and starts talking to him. And I'm like, come on, and you at least had a plan there afterwards, because it's like the dragon taught you what to do. Don't know what to do.
Dragon said, have you tried talking to him?
Yeah, right? Yeah. But it's at that point that he talks to the spirit, realizes that it is the spirit of the forest, because it's actually just a cuddly panda bear.
This is what happens when a panda gets hangry. All right.
Yeah.
Just need the Snickers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Just give it, a few tons of Snickers, and he'll be good.
And he'll be great.
Yeah. But they gotta be spirit Snickers.
Sure.
It's the best kind.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when he realizes that it's the spirit of the forest, and it's like, well, duh, I know why you're upset, because your forest got burnt down. And that's when he's like, hey, my friend gave me blunt force trauma and taught me this really important lesson. Maybe you can learn it without getting a concussion. Acorn? Because as we all know, acorns solve everything. Yeah. But it really does at this point. The spirit, which I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, I get that the spirit is like full of rage, but the spirit knows about acorns. It's the spirit of the forest.
Yep.
So I'm like, surely it knew there were acorns.
Bamboo
I mean,
doesn't come from Acorns, so he just wasn't interested.
yeah, I mean,
Aang's
maybe
job
it's
Aang's job was to mansplain forests to the forest.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I mean, I guess maybe it's a perspective thing, maybe because he's just so full of rage, he's not thinking about the hope of the future. And Aang reminds him of the hope of the future. And now he's a panda bear again.
Yep.
And I will say, you know, on his way out, he grows a grove of bamboo that the lost people are now able to return to. It's like, okay, I'm good now. Here's your people back. Sorry for kidnapping. We're good though, right? I will say though, this bamboo thicket covers the entire entrance to their village. But I don't know about you guys. I'd be terrified to cut that down.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch it.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, okay. We live behind bamboo now.
Yeah. Time to make another exit.
Yep.
Yeah. We live in bamboo now. That's how this works.
By the way, the spirit was just a
And that's how we got Bamboo Village.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
the spirit was just a panda, like a normal panda, right?
I mean, it wasn't.
Like, it wasn't like a hybrid panda.
Yeah, it wasn't like a hybrid panda. It was just,
right. Yeah, no, it wasn't. But it's also a spirit animal.
well, true. Yeah.
So yeah,
So they didn't have to mix it with like a rhino or anything.
No.
rhino panda. Honestly, I'd like to see a rhino.
Not a
I
panda.
kind of want an armadillo panda.
Oh yes.
An armored like thing.
But the size of a panda, not the size of an armadillo.
Right,
Oh,
exactly.
no,
Panda size,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
armadillo.
I
but
mean,
the coloring
but,
of a panda.
you know, let's be honest. That was a giant panda. I mean, again, spirit panda.
Yeah.
You know, so it was ginormous. Although, you know, I will say the spirit panda was smaller than the Heibai monster.
Yes.
So, you know,
Monster was just
I guess
angriness coming
when
out.
you're happy, you don't need to be as large. I don't know.
You also don't have to destroy everything.
No.
I mean that's how the
Less
Incredible Hulk
need for
works.
that.
You get
Yeah.
angry, you get bigger. You get calm down, you get smaller
True.
again.
Oh, there we
Yeah.
go.
You won't like me when I'm angry. I
Nope.
turn into a giant monster.
Yep.
And kidnap people.
Yes. It would also be cute if when the Incredible Hulk calmed down, he turned into a panda.
Right?
But yes.
Oh. I think we'd like Bruce Banner a little bit more.
Yes.
Chewing on a stack of bamboo, just like I feel better now.
A gamma irradiated panda.
Oh geez. But yeah, so that part of the storyline is complete. Aang does, you know, communicate to the other two that, hey, I need to go meet Roku during the solstice, which is tomorrow. Oh, and by the way, we got to go to an island that's in the Fire Nation. Great setup for the next episode. But I will say we've been completely, you know, we have not mentioned the Iroh and Zuko storyline that's going on, because Uncle Iroh gets kidnapped by Earthbenders because they're stupid. I'm just like, look, I get
They really are
he is-
stupid to be going after Uncle Iroh.
Exactly. I'm like, I get that he is like a big target to you because of the name that he carries and everything like that. But going after Uncle Iroh, I get that that he's one guy and you're an entire like earthbending. I mean, it's not like a whole army, but it's like a
militia.
yeah. I mean, it's just like a
Brigade.
unit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a unit, you know, so it's a good number of soldiers, but still, you're stupid for going after him. But that little bit begins with Iroh sitting in a hot spring, and I wrote down, you know, Uncle Iroh really knows the value of self-care.
Yep.
You know, he is, taking care of himself, enjoying his time. Zuko comes in and he's just like, hey, we gotta go. And Iroh's like, you know what? Why don't you take a breather? Why don't you come sit in this hot spring and chill out too? It'd be a good time. I will say, I mean, cultural differences. Because we all know Iroh's naked in that hot spring.
Yeah.
So inviting his nephew to join him is a little weird. Not gonna lie. Maybe in other cultures.
Maybe if it's a big enough hot tub.
Sure. I mean, it did not look tiny.
No, and Iroh's not a small guy either. So
No,
he's taking up a good percentage of that hot tub.
True. But I was just like, that's a little weird. But I mean, at the same time, I think he, number one, I think he knows Zuko's gonna say no.
I stood up and was like, I'm naked.
I was gonna say, okay, because Zuko's like, hey, we gotta go. And so Iroh immediately stands up. Those were weaponized genitals. Because he did that on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
So that Zuko would give him more time.
Yeah.
Because, it's like, Iroh is cool, with his body and everything, but he knows that Zuko is more uptight than that. He is not going to be okay with his uncle just standing with his junk hanging out.
Yeah.
Even long enough just to dry. So those were weaponized genitals.
Yeah, I mean, Zuko is still a minor. I mean, perhaps like whatever.
He's like, I would say, I've always thought he's anywhere between 16 and 18.
I'm pretty sure they say in the next episode he's 16.
I think he's 16 is what they say.
Have they already? Oh, okay. Honestly, I've always assumed more 17 or 18, but if they're saying 16, then
I would have assumed that too. But I'm pretty sure Iroh just said 16.
Okay. I might have missed it. I do that sometimes. But so he gets another little bit, and Zuko tells him 5 minutes, and then the next scene is Iroh waking up from a nap, going, "Oh well, I guess I missed that. I guess I missed that time call." But he's hanging out with a little what does he call it?
It was a vole.
A vole, yeah. Again, I think just a regular animal, not something.
Yeah, it looked like just a regular old woodsy vole.
Yeah. We do get those occasionally that they just don't draw attention to it. But so I think he calls it like just a little meadow vole.
That's right.
Yeah. And all of a sudden the meadow vole starts freaking out because he can hear or feel the earthbenders coming. And wouldn't you know it, the earthbenders trap Uncle Iroh. And again, my only thought is stupid earthbenders. I will say, they capture him and they, take him on, but we saw his uniform hanging up, but the entire time that he's with them, he's just in a loincloth.
Do they just carry a loincloth with them?
Well, what I'm thinking is that I'm like, okay, did you just not want to take the time to let the man get dressed? Do you just like carrying around naked prisoners? I mean, I'm sure it's like this will humiliate you thing, but
it's demoralizing the enemy. Yeah. They don't have any,
but I'm just like, dude,
war
take the time, let the man put his clothes on. Yeah. But no, this entire time that he's captured, all he's wearing is a loincloth. And goes through
I think he's like a general on his side, and they're treating him this badly means that they don't care for any of the niceties about this. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I will say from their standpoint, the Fire Nation, is a conquering army that has tried to take over the entire country.
Oh, sure.
So I get them having no respect for the Fire Nation and wanting to humiliate, somebody. If this had been Zhao, 100%.
Yep.
Do all of this shit. He deserves it.
Yep.
But this is Iroh.
Yeah, but they don't know
I
him.
don't care whose side he's on. Dude deserves your respect.
Wait, have we gotten the impression before that Iroh was perhaps different in the past? That he was a little bit. I mean, he's clearly respected.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. They mention at this point. This is the first time that we hear about the Iroh's 600-day siege of Ba Sing Se. And this is both a legendary thing, but we're also going to. I don't want to talk a whole lot about it because I don't want to give anything away, but it was kind of a humiliation for Iroh because he got farther than anybody ever had, but he was still there 600 days. And think about it. 600 days, that's almost 2 years.
Yep.
At least, on our calendar. I don't know what years are for them, but still 600 days, that is a lot. And he still failed. So, it's and this is going to come up a lot with Iroh. They're going to mention the siege of Ba Sing Se a lot in the future. This is the first mention we get of it from in the series, though. But yeah, so they bring up the siege of Ba Sing Se, and I will say there's one escape attempt that I do want to mention here because it's just great. Because first of all, it's Iroh just taking advantage of their silliness and their underestimation of him, and he asks them to tighten his cuffs because they're hurting his joints. And as they go to do this, he just with his breath burns up his cuffs and freaks the guy out, and he goes and does all of this stuff, shoots fire at them with his feet and all that. And I bring this up because because they do eventually capture him back. It takes quite a bit though. For a guy that's in chains, it was way too hard for them to recapture him. But their way of making sure that this doesn't happen again, because they're like, he's too dangerous. We've got to take care of him. Their way of neutralizing Iroh is by crushing his hands. But did you guys notice? Iroh used his hands for none of the bit that he just did.
So these aren't the brightest soldiers.
No, I'm like, he shot fire at you with his feet. He burned up his cuffs with his breath. He didn't even use his hands. And you think that that's going to help? Crushing his hands?
Yeah.
That's just going to piss him off more.
Not very observant. It does make me wonder what is, and maybe we'll see this later in the series, what is the best way to go about taking a firebender as a POW? Like, what do you have to do if they can shoot fire out of any part of their body?
Yeah, I mean,
he shoots fire out of his nose later in this episode.
Sure. I mean, I will say we're gonna see later on ways that kind of, I mean, they're pretty extreme.
Yeah.
But we are gonna see some ways that firebenders are weakened later on. But yeah, I mean, I think a firebender the level of like Zhao or even Zuko at this point would be easier neutralized.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Iroh here. Dude's a badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no, it's just,
because he's not only can he do more than the others, he's smarter than everybody.
Yes.
And he's smart enough to not let on how smart he is.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's
exactly. That is the brilliance of Iroh, is that he's smarter than everyone in the room, but he doesn't need you to know that. And he won't let you know that. But yeah. So as they're attempting to crush his hands, Zuko comes in, stops that from happening. And then Zuko and Iroh basically stand against the firebenders. I love this bit because they're just like, because the earthbenders are like, come on, there's like a bunch of us and only 2 of you. He's like, you're clearly outnumbered. And Iroh just goes, yeah, but you're clearly outmatched.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and what I love of this is that obviously Zuko's doing his regular firebending thing, but the majority of the people are taken out by Iroh. Iroh does not once firebend in this entire fight. All he does is use the weapons that they gave him, the chains on his own wrist, which is great. Oh,
That is peak using the enemy's leverage against them.
yeah, 100%. But yeah, and it's
the thing that possibly intrigued me most. The one thing I made a note about in the entire Iroh scene is that Iroh can apparently see spirits.
Yes, because
right.
he sees Aang and the spirit dragon go over him. Yeah. Which
seems important. I feel like that's definitely going to come back at some point.
Yeah. And I will say there are episodes coming up where I'm going to start asking Loren specifically more questions about what he thinks about Iroh. But I think this might be a good time to kind of just preface it. So like you mentioned, he is able to see spirits. What do you think Iroh's true affiliation here is?
I don't have a theory on that yet.
Okay.
I took notice of the fact that, like I said, he sees spirits. I figure that's going to be important. I hadn't developed any greater theory than that.
Sure.
But what it's worth, since we're talking Iroh, the one thing that has been in the back of my mind about Iroh, could be wrong about this, but I hinted at it earlier.
Yeah.
Is that for all of his appearance in this series as just nicely, kindly grandfather type with the wise wisdom and the teas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Given the hints in this episode, and my general sense before that is that, like, I kind of suspect that Iroh was, like, not just a brilliant general, but also kind of just a very bad man in the past.
Could have been.
Yeah. And that, time has calmed him down. He may still just be, a nice person in the context of, like, Fire Nation warlords.
Yeah.
If that's the contrast against him. But
yeah, I mean, at the very least, we can say without question, the man was accomplished.
Yes. And given what the Fire Nation's accomplishments have been in the past century, I imagine he's probably done some very bad things and hurt a lot of people. And is not necessarily ashamed of it yet. I don't know if that's going to change. I don't know if I'm right, but that's my read on it right now.
Sure. I mean, yeah, we will see as things progress, but I think there is the one thing that is 100% certain is that Iroh is a badass.
Yes.
All right. Well, let us go ahead then. Was there anything else about this episode that you guys wanted to mention?
I did want to mention just the look that Uncle Iroh got when he left his flip-flop behind, because that was the real escape thing.
Yes.
He was like, the whole like falling off and trying to escape was completely like part of his plan of like,
because he acted weak.
This.
Yeah, he acted weak, like he fainted.
Yeah.
And it was just to leave behind his flip-flop to give Zuko a clue that he was on the right track, kind of thing. Yeah. I did love the reaction that Zuko gives when he finds it, because he sniffs it. It's just like, oh. And then of course, when he finally finds him, he's like, great. Can you please put some clothes on?
I didn't take a lot of actual notes for either of these episodes, but one of my notes here for this one, I wrote Ghost Aang dash. I can't read the word. It looks like deadway. I don't think that's what I wrote. And then I wrote QL. Huh?
Dead weight?
Not dead weight, because the next thing I wrote is QL. So clearly I thought this was like something reminded me of Quantum Leap.
Okay.
I guess I was thinking of like the Al as the hologram when Aang's walking around, like seeing everyone, people are walking through him. He's kind of tinted blue. but
Yeah.
but yeah, no one can see him.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, then, what do you say we go ahead and get into our segments? All right, so we are going to go ahead and we're going to start off with our My Cabbages moment. This is, of course, the part in the show when we talk about our favorite or at least most interesting scene of the episode. Amanda, let's go ahead and start with you.
My cabbages moment is Uncle Iroh blowing on the little handcuffs and burning the earthbenders.
Yeah,
I love that.
Pretty good. Loren?
Man, this is the risk of having watched these episodes like 2 weeks ago. Is
Sure.
and not having taken notes.
Yeah.
Just I'm gonna repeat this here in a second, but
Yeah.
Iroh was the stronger part of the episode for me. So basically, anything involving him in this episode. I said it already. The fact that he can see spirits intrigues me more than anything else because it's clearly setting something up.
Yeah.
And so I want to see what comes of that.
All right. I will say I do want to give an honorable mention to the scene that sets up the next episode when we get, kind of the spirit dragon taking, Aang to, the fire temple or whatever. I like that setup, but honestly, my favorite scene, and I really didn't think about it until I was talking about it. My favorite scene is that fight at the end where Iroh owns everyone and doesn't even firebend. It's just, I mean, it's Iroh, for crying out loud. All right, well then, let us go ahead then and get into our Mako Award, which is, there it is. This is, of course, our favorite or most interesting character in the episode. Loren, I'm going to let you start this one. Who gets your Mako Award?
Well, like I said it just a second ago, might be repetitive, but Iroh. He was a stronger part of the episode. We see more of him being the brilliant strategist that he is, playing dumb so he can pull one over on everybody else.
Yeah. All right, Amanda?
I'm also going with Uncle Iroh because this is the first time we see exactly. We all know he's pretty great and pretty much a badass, but this is how we see just how far ahead of everybody else Uncle Iroh is.
Agreed, and I'm gonna make it unanimous. It's Uncle Iroh. It can't be. Honestly, it's just not fair to any other storyline. I mean, it is a tiny little thing. There's so much other more important things going on. But when you get to see Iroh be badass, you can't beat it. There's really very little that can compete with that. And so far, we haven't seen anything that can. And so, yeah, I mean, even though this is definitely Iroh at his weakest, at no point did I ever think that they were actually going to get him to Ba Sing Se. You always knew that Iroh was going to get the upper hand because it's Iroh. And I mean, like we said, stupid earthbenders for, coming at Iroh and not having an entire army on your side, because that was really your only small hope of getting him back.
Yeah. I'm half surprised you didn't have a meme of Iroh prepared just to slap on the screen here after you named it. Just like, it's unanimous, Iroh. Yeah.
Iroh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I probably should have one. But yeah, I think it's pretty unanimous. All right, well then let us go ahead and get into our rating for the episode. This is, of course, the Avatar State Meter. We can rate this anywhere from 1 to 5. 5 being the best episode it could possibly be. It'd be the show at full power. And 1 being the worst, could deal the show a fatal blow. So let's see. Amanda, why don't you start off this one? Where would you put this on the Avatar state meter?
This one is a solid 4.5, just because of the Iroh and Zuko scenes. Like those alone are like my favorite parts of it.
Sure.
Even though it was the smaller part, it made the Aang and spirit monster stuff seem more like filler than anything else.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a little bit lower. I'll put it at like a 3.5 to 4. Again, I've established what it is I liked about it, but at the end of the day, you know, and it did wrap up the whole forest spirit, but you reach the end and it really just feels like set up for what was really important.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Yeah, I am gonna go right in between you guys. I'm gonna give this a solid 4. This, I will say, I thought about a 3.5 just because like the main story is really kind of setting up something more exciting. But I do like that we're finally actually starting to set up kind of the lore, and we're getting into some really important things. Plus, as we mentioned, you know, the Iroh being a badass at the end, I mean, it's gonna elevate any episode. So yeah, solid 4 for me. All right. Well, if that is it, then we want to go ahead and let people know how they can get into contact with us. Of course, you can contact me at the Flying Cow Pod on Twitter and Instagram. You can also email at the Flying Cow Pod at gmail.com. Don't forget to check out all the things that we have available on the Flying Cow YouTube channel. Remember to like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And don't forget to check out Patreon, patreon.com/the Flying Cow, where we have all sorts of exclusive things over there. Make sure to check that out. You can actually even check out these episodes 1 week early over on the Patreon at the $10 tier. Lots and lots of fun. Laura and Amanda, let us know what you guys got going on.
By the time this episode comes out, Little Shop of Horrors will have wrapped already, I believe. But I'm sure it will have been fun. Don't have any other theater stuff come up until 2024, more than likely. You can still find me on Twitter. I don't care for the new name. I appreciate your graphic. Still has the little blue bird.
And always will.
Always
as long as that site exists.
Yes, at Loren Collins. I also just signed up for Blue Sky, which I may go to more because, yeah, frankly, I will rant very briefly. Musk finally did something to Twitter that really irritated me, which was getting rid of like the previews of articles. Like that makes the entire experience worse. If I can't see what the article is, it's just a picture. So yeah, go somewhere else for my news.
Yeah. Amanda?
You can find me on Twitter at Amanda Van Heil. You can find me on Instagram at Panda Princessa Streams. You can also find me on twitch.tv/Panda Princessa and hosting Zelda Weekly on Zelda Universe TV on YouTube. I had to think what site that was. YouTube. That one.
So your socials are Panda, and we didn't tie that together with the Panda in this episode.
I honestly, I was sure you were going to bring it up.
Being hangry.
The moment I said Panda, I was like, I'm sure Amanda's going to say something. Nope.
Well, I didn't know if it was established that everybody kind of knew me as that, and so
you announce it every episode.
Okay, yeah, fair point. Okay, so I relate to the spirit being hangry.
That's fine. All right, but yes. We will be back next time talking about the second part of this 2-part episode, Avatar Roku. But until that time, move.
Mm-hmm.